Hello.
I thought 12 years of marriage meant something. Then my wife returned from a business trip glowing with happiness. Not for me, but for him. The hidden lingerie, secret phone calls, and that silver bracelet with another man's engraving were just the beginning. When I discovered the joint bank account and Miami condo plans, I realized I wasn't losing my wife. I was escaping a master manipulator who'd planned her exit for months. But two can play this game, and she never saw me coming. My name is Brian Turner. I'm 38 years old, work in software development for a mid-sized tech company in Seattle. And until 6 months ago, I thought I had a rock-solid marriage. It started on a Tuesday night in October. Rain pounded against our windows, typical Seattle weather, as I sat in our living room reviewing some code on my laptop. The clock on the wall showed 11:45 p.m. Lauren wasn't due back from her 3-day business trip to Portland until tomorrow afternoon, so I was surprised when I heard a car pull into our driveway. I glanced out the window and saw her getting out of an Uber, laughing at something on her phone. Even from a distance, I could see her face lit up with a kind of joy I hadn't witnessed in months. My wife returned from her business trip, all smiles, practically glowing as she wheeled her suitcase toward the front door. The door swung open, and there she stood, her blonde hair slightly damp from the rain, cheeks flushed with excitement. She jumped slightly when she saw me sitting in the dimly lit living room. "Brian, you scared me," she said, her voice unusually high-pitched. "I thought you'd be asleep by now." I closed my laptop. "Came home early, huh? I thought your last meeting was tomorrow morning." She waved her hand dismissively while typing something on her phone. "Oh, they canceled. Some issue with the client." Since everything was wrapped up, I decided to catch an earlier flight. She looked up briefly. The presentation was a huge hit, by the way. Anderson practically guaranteed we'd get the contract. I nodded, noticing how she couldn't seem to put her phone down. "That's great, babe. Congrats." "Thanks." Her phone buzzed, and her face lit up again as she glanced at the screen. "Sorry, just work stuff." Everyone's still hyped about how it went. Something fell off. Lauren had always been dedicated to her marketing career, but midnight tech celebrations weren't really her style. "You seem really happy," I said, studying her face. "Must have been some presentation." "It was," she said, a little too enthusiastically. "Career-defining, maybe." She wheeled her suitcase toward our bedroom. "I'm going to unpack quick and shower. I smell like airplane." As she disappeared down the hallway, I sat there with a strange feeling in my gut. Lauren had always been pretty straightforward about her trips, boring meetings, mediocre hotel food, small talk with clients. But there was something different this time. She was practically floating. I was about to follow her when I heard it, a muffled "oh no" from the bedroom, followed by what sounded like frantic movement. "Everything okay in there?" I called out. "Fine," she answered too quickly. "Just dropped something." When I walked to the bedroom doorway, I found her kneeling by her open suitcase, her face pale, hands trembling slightly as she shoved something into the bottom drawer of her dresser. "What was that?" I asked. Lauren looked up, and for a split second, I saw something I'd never seen before in my wife's eyes: fear. "Nothing," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just some paperwork I didn't want to lose." She stood up and kissed my cheek. "I'm going to shower now. Been a long day." As the bathroom door closed behind her, I stared at the dresser drawer, an uncomfortable knot forming in my stomach. 12 years of marriage had taught me one thing for certain. Lauren was hiding something, and for the first time in our relationship, I was afraid to find out what it was. I couldn't sleep that night. Lauren's unusual behavior kept replaying in my mind. Around 2 a.m., I heard the shower turn off, followed by Lauren's quiet footsteps. She slipped into bed beside me, and I pretended to be asleep. The scent of her lavender body wash filled the air, but underneath it was something else, a cologne that definitely wasn't mine. When morning came, Lauren had already left for work. Her side of the bed was cold. A text on my phone explained she had an early meeting. Perfect timing. I walked over to her dresser, staring at the bottom drawer. My hands trembled slightly as I pulled it open. Guilt washed over me. In 12 years, I'd never snooped through her things. But that look in her eyes last night, something was seriously wrong. Underneath a stack of winter sweaters, my fingers touched a small velvet box. Not jewelry-sized, but larger, like it might hold a watch. I lifted it out, surprised by its weight. Inside was an expensive-looking silver bracelet with an engraving. Forever starts now. T. I didn't know any T. My stomach dropped. Below where the box had been was a handwritten note on hotel stationery. Last night was incredible. Can't wait for Miami next month. 3 days, just us. It wasn't signed, but it didn't need to be. The flowing handwriting wasn't Lauren's. I sat on the edge of the bed, the evidence clutched in my hands. This wasn't some work thing. This was an affair. I carefully replaced everything, making it look untouched. Then I did something I'd never done before. I checked Lauren's iPad, which she'd left charging our nightstand. Her iCloud messages synced automatically. There he was, Tyler. Pages of texts, each more intimate than the last. Heart emojis, late-night messages, photos I couldn't bring myself to open. They'd been chatting for months. The most recent message from him, sent last night. Did he suspect anything? Her reply, not a clue. He never notices anything. I felt physically ill. 12 years of marriage, and she thought I was too stupid to notice her affair. Worse, she'd been right until now. I took photos of the messages as evidence, then put everything back in place. My mind was racing. I needed more information, but also needed to be smart about this. If I confronted her now, she'd just deny everything. That afternoon, I made a call that changed everything. A private investigator named Victor came highly recommended for delicate domestic situations. His office was downtown, and he agreed to meet me that same day. It was time to find out exactly who Tyler was and how deep this betrayal went. Victor's office was tucked away in a weathered brick building downtown. The man himself looked exactly like you'd expect a PI to look, mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. So your wife is having an affair, he stated matter-of-factly after I explained the situation. I winced at hearing it said out loud. I think so. I need to be sure. Victor nodded. People think they're careful, but they always make mistakes. Always. He pulled out a notepad. I'll need her schedule, any information you have on this Tyler, access to your shared accounts, and anything else you can provide. I handed over a USB drive with everything I'd found so far. Photos of text messages, Lauren's work schedule for the next 2 weeks, and our cell phone records. There's a number she calls almost daily, I said, pointing to the highlighted line on the bill. Started about 3 months ago. Victor whistled as he looked at the call durations. 60-minute calls during lunch breaks. Definitely not work-related. He ran the number through a database. Tyler Reynolds, marketing executive at Stellar Brand. My stomach dropped. Stellar Brand was a client of Lauren's company. Standard surveillance package is $2,500, Victor continued. I'll track their movements, document any meetings, and provide photographic evidence if there is any. 2 days later, I was living in a strange purgatory, going through the motions with Lauren while knowing Victor was tracking her every move. I acted normal, kissed her goodbye in the mornings, asked about her day. Lauren seemed to buy my act. If anything, she became more affectionate, bringing home my favorite takeout and suggesting a weekend trip the following month. The guilt was written all over her, but I played along. You seem distracted, she said one evening, massaging my shoulders as I pretended to work on my laptop. In reality, I was waiting for Victor's daily update. Just a tough project at work. I lied, hating how easily the deception came. My phone buzzed with an incoming email. Victor, bathroom break, I said, taking my phone with me. The email contained several photos of Lauren and a man I didn't recognize entering a boutique hotel downtown. Timestamp, that very afternoon, when she was supposedly at a client meeting. The final image showed them kissing in the hotel elevator. My hand shook so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. There it was, undeniable proof. The man who was destroying my marriage had a face now. I took a deep breath and returned to the living room, where Lauren was curled up on her couch, smiling at something on her phone. Probably texting him. Everything okay? She asked without looking up. Fine, I replied, amazed at how steady my voice sounded when everything inside me was screaming. The game wasn't over. I needed to know how deep this went. The next morning, Lauren kissed me goodbye with mint-fresh breath and promises of dinner at our favorite restaurant that night. I'll make a reservation for 7, she said, straightening my collar affectionately. We've both been so busy lately. We need some us time. I nodded, wondering if the us in her life still included me at all. As soon as her car disappeared down the street, I called Victor. I need more, I said without preamble. The hotel photos aren't enough. I need to know how long this has been going on, how serious it is. Already on it, Victor replied. I've got someone following Reynolds too, and I've been digging into their digital footprint. They've been sloppy. That afternoon, Victor sent a detailed report. Tyler Reynolds, 36, divorced, had joined Stellar Brand 8 months ago, right around the time Lauren's business trips started increasing. Their first documented meeting outside of work was at a conference in San Diego 5 months ago. But the bombshell came in the financial records. Victor had discovered a joint checking account opened 3 months ago, with both Lauren and Tyler's names on it. Small deposits made regularly, saving for something. Worse still was the email Victor had uncovered from Lauren's personal account, sent to a real estate agent in Miami. We're excited to view the waterfront properties next month. Looking for something modern, 2 BR minimum. Budget as discussed. I felt like I was falling down an endless hole. This wasn't just an affair. This was an exit strategy. When Lauren texted that she needed to cancel our dinner plans due to a client emergency, I almost laughed at the predictability. Victor confirmed she was with Tyler at his apartment. I used the evening alone to formulate my plan. Confronting her now would just lead to denials and half-truths. I needed to be strategic, to gather every piece of evidence before making my move. I also consulted with a lawyer friend who advised me to document everything and secure my personal finances immediately. Joint accounts can be drained without warning, he warned. Seen it too many times. That night, I transferred half our savings to a new account in only my name. Not everything. I wasn't trying to hide assets, but enough to protect myself from being left penniless. When Lauren came home around 11, she smelled of wine and that same cologne. Sorry about dinner, she murmured, slipping into bed beside me. The Brighton account had a complete meltdown. It's fine, I replied, turning away from her. These things happen. As she fell asleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling, Victor's words echoing in my mind. I've saved the worst for our meeting tomorrow. Some things shouldn't be sent electronically. Whatever it was, I knew it would change everything. Victor's office seemed smaller the second time around, or maybe the weight of what I was about to learn made everything feel constricted. He had a folder and laptop ready when I arrived. Before I show you this, he said, voice grave, I want to make sure you're prepared. This goes beyond what we initially thought. I nodded, steeling myself. Just show me. Victor opened his laptop and clicked through a series of photos. Lauren and Tyler entering different hotels. Intimate dinners. Walking with their arms around each other. Standard affair stuff, Victor commented. But now the concerning part. He pulled up an email thread between Lauren and Tyler, dated just yesterday. Brian has no clue about Miami. Lauren had written, I'll tell him I have a week-long conference. By the time I get back, we'll have the offer ready on the condo. 3 more months max before I can make the full break. Tyler's response made my blood freeze. Perfect. My transfer to the Miami office is confirmed. What about your exit strategy for the finances? Lauren, working on it. Moving small amounts weekly. The joint account is building nicely. He never checks the statements anyway. I felt physically ill. The woman I'd built a life with wasn't just cheating. She was systematically dismantling our life while planning her new one. There's more, Victor said quietly, pulling out a legal document. They've been meeting with a realtor in Miami. This is a pre-approval for a mortgage in both their names. I stared at the document, the implications hitting me like a truck. She's leaving me. This was never just an affair. Victor nodded grimly. Based on everything I've gathered, they've been planning this for at least 3 months. The Miami trip next month isn't just a getaway. They're finalizing their plans. What about our assets? I asked, suddenly terrified she'd clean me out while I wasn't looking. She's been methodical, Victor confirmed. Small transfers, nothing suspicious. But it adds up. By my calculation, she's moved about $40,000 from your joint accounts over the last few months. I remember the new car she'd insisted on buying last year, in her name only. The investment account she'd opened for tax purposes. It had all been leading to this. One last thing, Victor said, pulling out his phone. This is audio from a reservation they made at a restaurant in Miami for next month. He pressed play. Lauren's voice came through clearly. That sounds perfect. It'll be our first official dinner as a couple in our new city. No more hiding. I sat in stunned silence, as Victor laid out my options. Confrontation, divorce, legal protections for remaining assets. All I could think was 12 years of marriage, and I never really knew her at all. For the next week, I lived in a strange twilight zone, going through the motions of normal life while preparing for its collapse. Every smile Lauren gave me, every casual touch, now felt like another twist of the knife. She was playing the role of devoted wife while counting down the days until her escape. I consulted with a divorce attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Diana, who specialized in cases involving financial deception. Unfortunately, this is textbook, she said after reviewing Victor's evidence. She's been planning this for months, maybe longer. We need to act fast to protect your remaining assets. I signed paperwork giving Diana authority to freeze our joint accounts if necessary. I documented everything: bank statements, property deeds, retirement accounts. What about confronting her? I asked. Diana's expression turned cautious. That's your decision, but strategically, we'd be in a stronger position if she doesn't know you're onto her until we've secured the financial aspects. I knew she was right, but the thought of continuing this charade was becoming unbearable. At home, Lauren was stepping up her performance. She suggested a weekend getaway to reconnect. She initiated sex for the first time in months. She even brought up the possibility of starting a family sometime next year, all while secretly planning to be in Miami with another man. The audacity was staggering. Victor continued his surveillance, providing daily updates. The Miami trip was now fully booked. Lauren had officially requested the time off work for her conference. Meanwhile, Tyler had put his condo on the market and begun shipping items to a storage facility in Florida. They were really doing this. I carefully documented my own work schedule, creating a digital trail proving I'd been at the office during key times. Diana had warned me that cheating spouses often made counter-accusations once exposed. Be prepared for everything, she'd advised. When cornered, people get desperate. On Friday, Lauren announced she needed to work late. Victor's text confirmed she was meeting Tyler at a hotel downtown. I used the time alone to finalize my plan. The confrontation needed to be controlled, with irrefutable evidence presented methodically. No room for denials or gaslighting. I arranged the printed emails, bank statements, and photos in a folder. I backed up Victor's recordings to multiple devices. I rehearsed what I would say, trying to find words for the magnitude of her betrayal. When Lauren returned home after midnight, I pretended to be asleep. She showered before coming to bed, washing away the evidence of her evening. Tomorrow was the day. I let her make her plans for the Miami trip, and then I'd show her exactly how clueless I wasn't. As she drifted off to sleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling, wondering how someone could lie so convincingly for so long to someone they once loved. Or maybe that was it. Maybe she hadn't loved me for a very long time. Saturday morning arrived with a strange sense of calm. I'd barely slept, but felt oddly clear-headed. Today was the day Lauren's carefully constructed world would collapse. She was cheerful at breakfast, talking about a spa day with her friend Melissa. Another lie. Victor had confirmed she was meeting Tyler to finalize their Miami plans. I'll be back around 6, she said, kissing my cheek. Maybe we could do dinner out tonight. Perfect, I replied. I'll make a reservation at Bellini's. 7:30. Her eyes lit up. Our anniversary spot? What's the occasion? Just thought we should talk about a few things, I said casually. A flicker of concern crossed her face, quickly replaced by her practiced smile. Sound great. See you tonight. After she left, I transformed our dining room into what Diana had called an evidence room. Printed emails arranged chronologically. Bank statements highlighting suspicious transfers. Photos of Lauren and Tyler entering hotels. The mortgage pre-approval for their Miami condo. All meticulously organized. At 6:15, I heard her key in the lock. I sat at the dining room table, the evidence spread before me, a glass of scotch in my hand. Lauren froze in the doorway, her face shifting from confusion to shock as she processed what she was seeing. Brian? What is all this? Her voice aimed for innocence, but landed on panic. Sit down, Lauren. I don't understand. Sit down. My voice was steady, controlled. She slowly lowered herself into a chair, eyes darting over the documents. How long were you planning to string me along? I asked. Until the Miami condo closed. Or were you going to wait until you drained our accounts completely? The color drained from her face. I can explain. Tyler Reynolds explains it pretty well. I said, sliding over the photos of them together. So does this joint bank account, and these real estate listings, and this mortgage application. Her hands trembled as she stared at the evidence of her betrayal. When were you going to tell me, Lauren? After your conference next month? Or was I going to come home to an empty house and divorce papers? It's not what it looks like, she attempted, but her voice lacked conviction. I played the audio recording Victor had captured. That sounds perfect. It'll be our first official dinner as a couple in our new city. No more hiding. Tears welled in her eyes. Brian, please. No more lies, Lauren. It's over. I've already consulted with a lawyer. I've documented the $40,000 you've been siphoning from our accounts. I've secured all our assets. You have me follow? Indignation flashed through her tears. That's your takeaway from this? Then I caught you. I laughed humorlessly. 12 years, Lauren. 12 years. And you threw it away for waterfront property and some marketing executive. It wasn't supposed to happen this way, she whispered. I never meant to hurt you. Yet you planned it meticulously. For months. I stood up. I've booked you a hotel room tonight. Pack what you need. The locks will be changed tomorrow. Brian, we need to talk about this. We're beyond talking. We're at the part where you leave. I placed the hotel reservation next to the evidence of her betrayal. Your conference just got moved up. Lauren left that night, mascara streaking her face, a hastily packed suitcase trailing behind her. The house felt emptier than I expected, not just because she was gone, but because I realized how hollow our life together had been for months. The next morning, Diana called to confirm Lauren had withdrawn the maximum cash advance from her personal credit card, $5,000. An act of desperation. She'd also tried to access our joint investment account, only to discover it had been frozen. She's panicking, Diana noted. That's good for us. Has she contacted you? 27 text messages and 14 missed calls. I replied. I haven't responded. Perfect. Let her stew. 2 days later, Victor reported Lauren had moved into Tyler's apartment. They'd canceled their Miami trip, likely realizing their perfect escape plan had imploded. That week was a blur of legal meetings and paperwork. Diana filed for divorce on grounds of adultery, with comprehensive evidence of financial deception. We also filed for an emergency court order regarding the joint funds Lauren had been siphoning. Judges don't look kindly on hidden assets, Diana explained, especially with this level of documentation. At work, I requested a temporary assignment to our San Diego office. I needed distance from Seattle, from places that reminded me of Lauren. My boss, witnessing my haggard appearance, immediately approved. Lauren's first direct contact came via email, subject line, "Please read this. I never meant for any of this to happen," she wrote. Tyler was just supposed to be a fling, but it evolved. I still care about you, Brian. We should talk about separating amicably. Diana advised against responding. This is damage control. She realizes she's lost the upper hand. A week into our separation, things escalated. Lauren showed up at our house, finding the locks changed. Neighbors reported her screaming on the porch, demanding entry. When I didn't respond, she called mutual friends, painting herself as the victim of my controlling behavior and unfounded accusations. Fortunately, I'd already shared the basic truth with close friends. Their support was my lifeline through those dark days. Tyler reached out next, a move I hadn't anticipated. Lauren misrepresented her marital situation to me, he claimed in a carefully worded email. I believe your relationship was effectively over. I can provide information that may be helpful in your divorce proceedings. Victor wasn't surprised. The ship is sinking, and he's looking for a lifeboat. As it turned out, Lauren had told Tyler I knew about their affair and had agreed to an amicable split. She'd presented the money she was moving as her fair share of our assets. When faced with potentially being named in the divorce proceedings, Tyler quickly threw Lauren under the bus. Through it all, I kept breathing, kept working, kept putting one foot in front of the other. The betrayal still cut deep, but each day brought incremental healing and the growing certainty that I'd saved myself from years of further deception. 3 months after confronting Lauren, I sat in Diana's office, signing the final divorce papers. The process had been faster and cleaner than expected, largely due to the overwhelming evidence of Lauren's deception. The judge was particularly unimpressed by the hidden accounts, Diana noted, organizing the documents. The ruling on the financial settlement reflects that. I'd received the house, my full retirement accounts, and restitution for the funds Lauren had diverted. She kept her car, personal possessions, and the stark reality of her choices. Have you heard anything from her? Diana asked. Not directly. Mutual friends say she and Tyler broke up a month ago. Apparently, once the thrill of sneaking around was gone, so was the magic. Diana nodded, unsurprised. Relationships built on deception rarely survive exposure to daylight. My temporary assignment in San Diego had turned permanent at my request. Seattle held too many memories, and the California office needed an experienced project lead. The beachfront apartment I'd rented was smaller than my Seattle house, but felt more like home than any place I'd lived in years. That weekend, I began the process of sorting through what remained of my married life. Diana had arranged for a moving company to pack and ship my essential belongings. Everything else would be sold or donated. As I sorted through books and kitchenware, deciding what deserved space in my new life, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Tyler Reynolds. I know you have no reason to talk to me, but there's something you should know about Lauren's current activities. I deleted it without responding. Their drama was no longer my concern. The Seattle house sold above asking price in the hot market. I donated most of the furniture to a shelter for domestic violence survivors, finding poetic justice in the gesture. Work became my sanctuary. I took on challenging projects, stayed late developing new systems, and slowly rebuilt my professional confidence. My personal life remained deliberately quiet. I wasn't ready to trust anyone. Not yet. 6 months post-divorce, my team celebrated landing a major client with drinks at a beachfront bar. I was nursing a beer, half listening to office gossip, when a woman accidentally bumped into me, spilling her drink. "I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, grabbing napkins to blot my shirt. "No harm done," I assured her, helping clean up the spill. Her name was Abigail. She was a marine biologist at the nearby research center, had never been married, and laughed easily. We exchanged numbers, cautiously, with no expectations. 2 days later, we met for coffee. The conversation flowed naturally, without pretense or agenda. For the first time in nearly a year, I felt something long dormant stir back to life. Hope. I wasn't ready to fully trust again, not yet. But sitting across from Abigail, watching her describe her work with animated enthusiasm, I realized I was finally ready to try. 1 year after signing those divorce papers, I stood on the balcony of my San Diego apartment, watching the sunset paint the Pacific in shades of gold and crimson. So much had changed, yet sometimes I still woke up disoriented, momentarily forgetting the collapse of my marriage and the life I'd rebuilt from its ruins. The legal epilogue to Lauren's betrayal had concluded uneventfully. She'd contested nothing after Tyler's testimony corroborated the extent of her planning. The last I'd heard through mutual friends, she'd moved to Chicago, not Miami, and was working for a smaller firm. The grand escape plan had evaporated like morning mist. My career had flourished in San Diego. The change of scenery had sparked creativity I hadn't accessed in years, leading to a promotion and industry recognition for a major software solution my team had developed. And then there was Abigail. Our coffee date had led to dinner, then weekend hikes along the coast, then comfortable silences and meaningful conversations. We'd moved slowly, deliberately, both of us carrying lessons from past relationships. "What are you thinking about so intensely?" Abigail asked, joining me on the balcony with 2 glasses of wine. "How different life looked from a year ago." I answered honestly, accepting the glass. "How unexpected the journey has been." She smiled, understanding in her eyes. 6 months into our relationship, I'd shared the full story of Lauren's betrayal. Abigail had listened without judgment, then shared her own past heartbreaks. "To unexpected journeys, then," she said, raising her glass. We clinked glasses, watching the last sliver of sun disappear beneath the horizon. Later that evening, my phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from Diana, forwarding a message from Lauren. "I know it's been a long time," Lauren had written. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. A lot of therapy, too. I realize now how badly I hurt you. And while I know apologies can't change that, I need you to know I'm truly sorry for the pain I caused. I stared at the words, surprised by the lack of emotion they stirred. No anger, no lingering hurt, just acknowledgement of a chapter closed. Everything okay? Abigail asked, noting my expression. Yeah, I said, setting the phone down without responding to the email. Just the past saying goodbye. That night, as Abigail slept beside me, I reflected on the strange path life had taken. The betrayal that had once seemed like the end of everything had actually been the beginning of something authentic. Without Lauren's deception, I might never have found the courage to rebuild, to relocate, to open myself to new possibilities. In losing what I thought was essential, I discovered what truly mattered: integrity, self-respect, and the quiet joy of genuine connection. As I drifted towards sleep, I realized something surprising. I was actually grateful, not for the betrayal itself, but for the stronger version of myself that had emerged from its ashes. The man I'd become after surviving Lauren's betrayal was more authentic, more resilient, and ultimately, more capable of true intimacy than the man I'd been before. Sometimes, the harshest endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.
Bye.